Hello and welcome to this masterclass. In this masterclass today we're going to have a look at the piece called Yorkshire Rocks. This is a piece that I think is very useful for the diploma level of the DipVCM examinations. My name is Claire Pashley and we're very lucky today to have Rebecca here, who has agreed to play the music for us and have a chat about the material after that. So I'm going to ask Rebecca first of all just to play through Yorkshire Rocks and then we'll have a chat about it afterwards, Rebecca. Okay? Thank you. So, with all the pieces that I've actually composed, I've always put a lot of importance on the title. Now, this is no exception, this piece. It's called Yorkshire Rocks. Now, I'm going to ask you, Rebecca, what do you think the title means? What's it all about?
Well, as we're in Yorkshire and it's well known for the moors, I took it to mean that it's about the landscape in Yorkshire.
Okay. Right, so let me explain why it is I called this piece Yorkshire Rocks. Now, I've got my stimulation for writing this piece by going to see a rock band, unbelievably. Okay, and this rock band had a lead singer in, it had a bass guitar in, it had a lead guitar in, and it also had some drums. And I thought, I love the way that they actually interacted on the stage. It was lovely to watch the way that they worked together, just like you would do with classical performers, like a string quartet, but as a quartet, you could see that they were feeding off each other and they were working together. So I decided to write a piece of music that really described their performance on the stage. And that's why this piece is called Yorkshire Rocks, because they were a rock band and they were from Yorkshire. Okay? So let me explain how this piece knits together then, so you get the idea of what I'm talking about. So if we look at the very opening here, you've got 4 semi-breves. Which parts of the 4-part band do you think are playing there?
So I would assume it would be sort of percussion or bass.
That's right, exactly that.
Yeah.
So it's only the drums that are playing, plus the bass at the same time. Now, obviously, the right hand comes in at bar 5. So what part of the band do you think are actually coming in here?
I would say it's more melodic, so a lead singer or a lead instrument.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's actually the lead singer, okay?
Yeah.
Because this section here is actually the chorus. Now, if you think about pop songs, they tend to be based on choruses and verses. And this is exactly what this piece has been structured to do. So you've actually got your chorus here, and if you like, the lead singer is actually singing the words, Yorkshire Rocks. It says, Yorkshire Rocks. So I would sort of sing that in your head when you're playing this, because that gives you a nice sort of feel for the words of the piece and the title of the piece as well. Okay. Now, we haven't mentioned the lead guitarist yet. He's sort of sitting around doing nothing at the moment, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
Where do you think he comes in, first of all?
First of all, I would think maybe about bar 10, where you've got the dotted crotchet and that sort of rhythm.
Okay. Now there, that's still the lead singer. The guitarist has his own unique motive, if you like, an idea. And it starts to appear for the first time at bar 22, where you've got the quavers. See?
Yep.
So da 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 da. That's your guitar. It's like a sort of lifting element. Okay. Now, if you go over the page to bar 24, you'll see that he starts to show off a bit there, doesn't he? Yeah. You can imagine him showing off on stage, can't you?
Yeah.
Now, what happens at bar 25 in the bass clef?
It plays in tandem with the right hand.
So what instrument do you think is actually sort of playing there with him?
I would say the bass player comes back in.
Exactly, yeah. So before that, you see, you've got 4 crotchets, haven't you? Which is more like the bass with the drums still.
Yeah.
But the drums idea is still going to carry through. Yeah, you're still going to get that sort of rhythmical bang, 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 bang coming through.
Yeah.
But in that section, it's like a duet, really, between the lead guitar and the bass guitar. And, you know, a bass guitarist will have a field day there because he normally doesn't get the opportunity to do much. So it's his little moment there as well, really, to shine. Okay? Now, if you have a look at bar 29, what do you think happens there?
I would say it goes back to the percussion instrument.
Okay. Well, actually, what you've got there is the start of the verse.
Right.
So that's the end of the chorus at that point, and this is where the verse comes in, and that's the lead singer that's introducing that.
Right.
Okay? And the whole of the verse is based on a technique called call and response. So the lead singer will sing a bit, and then the band would then back it up with a response to what he's singing. See?
Yeah.
So if you have a look at bar 31 with the upbeat just before it, you'll see that the lead guitar comes in with a response to what the lead singer has just sung. And the bass guitarist follows him as well by playing like a little unison section, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you could say that the drum comes in again at bar 32 to join. Okay, and that goes on all the way through that section with the lead singer doing a call and the rest of the band doing a response to that. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, where do you think the chorus comes back again? Which bar?
45.
Bar 45. There you are. And then you're back to the Yorkshire Rocks idea again, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you go into another little section, which I tend to call like a little riff that's in the middle of the piece. It's the time for the lead guitar to actually do his real show off. Yeah? This is his moment of glory. So the tune that you've actually got at bar 57 is the actual lead guitar playing. And this is why this section is so difficult to play.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's quite easy to play on the guitar, but much more difficult to play on the piano. And so this is why it's very, very important in this section to make sure technically that you've got everything right. The other important point to remember as well is that because it's a rock piece, the actual tempo behind it has got to be very rigid. You know, imagine that sort of beat sound that you tend to get with rock music. Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, all pop music's actually based on your heartbeat, would you believe? You know, that's why people like it so much, because it has that sort of constant beat that emulates the heart and the heartbeat, which is one of the first sounds we hear when we're in the womb, you see. So that's why we like pop music so much. So in this piece, you must not slow down, because obviously if you slow down, it's like your heart slowing down, which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay? So keep that beat really constant in that bit. So you need to do quite a bit of slow practice on that section to keep that tempo up, and do lots of work with the metronome as well to get that fast enough. Okay? Right. What about at bar 65? What happens there?
I would say we go back to the chorus again then.
That's right, so you've got another little chorus that comes through.
Yeah.
And then the piece actually finishes with a small coda at bar 77. So how would you describe that coda, do you think?
I would sort of say it's dying away to nothing, so you can tell that it's coming to the conclusion of the piece.
Yeah, so it's got to be played, you know, a bit different, doesn't it really, because it's got to be quite lyrical, and you can see the texture is completely different there. And you can see that I've deliberately put deep pedalling in this. So, you know, by putting the pedalling in the way that I have, it helps to sort of give that sort of resonance that resonates through the whole of the room. So don't be frightened there of putting your pedal right down and just letting it ring out. Okay? You can use the unicorder pedal right at the very end as well on the double B section if you would like to do that. Okay. Right, so let's have a talk about the technique within this now. Okay, so I think we're okay technically on the first section because it's just based on chords really, isn't it? So you've got it, well it's in the key of C, the whole of the piece. You've got the word allegretto at the top. What does that mean, allegretto?
I'm not sure, Claire.
Okay, it means fairly fast. So again, it's that sort of poppy type feel to it. So allegretto, fairly fast.
Yep.
And then you've got to remember as well that the main chords you're going to have, because it's in the key of C, is going to be your C chord, which is chord number 1, your F chord, which is chord number 4, and your G chord, which is chord number 5. So a lot of the chord-based playing that you have in the right hand will be based on those chords. So it's a good idea to practice those chords and their inversions outside the piece, so you get used to feeling the patterns and getting them under your fingers. So an example of that is if you have a look at where the right hand comes in, you can see the first chord that you've got is a C chord.
Yep.
Then the second chord is an F chord. Then it's back to the C chord again, you see? and the G chord comes in at bar 8.
Yeah.
So you can see it's C, F and G all the way through that section really. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, if you have a look at bar 22, my recommendation there for where the guitar comes in is, because it's an arpeggiated section, to think carefully about maybe using a finger 1 on the G, a finger 2 on the C, a finger 3 on the E, and then the G at the top with your 5th finger, okay? Don't be frightened to move your wrist around on that. You know, turn your wrist towards the direction of the top note, because that will help you get the hand position. And that is quite an important feature through all your lead guitar type music, because it's much easier to actually whiz around the guitar and play arpeggios than it is on the piano. So, you know, use the opportunity to turn your wrist whenever you play any of the guitar riffs, because it will help you towards getting your fingers through the notes. Okay?
Yeah.
Right, so let's move on and have a look at the section which is very, very difficult now, which is at bar 57. Okay. Now, what I suggest you do for your fingering on this bit is to start off with finger 2, then finger 1 on the G, finger 2 on the C, then if you put your thumb under onto the D, and then after that you see you've got 2, 3, 4, 2, and then your third then will seat on at bar 58 on the F, and then you can just go all the way through there. Now, when you go down to the E flat, that's the third set of semiquavers there, put your third finger on that, and then you're in position then to play all of that section after that. Okay? And when you get to bar 59,
Yeah.
the E flats, make sure you use the finger 3 on that, and then after that stretch down to finger 2 on the C, and then a finger 1 on the low G, and turn your wrist again. You see what I mean about the wrist turning in this? It's so important to keep that wrist turned at all times. So use that sort of section, a bit like a seesaw, where you go down and then you can move your hand up again then and put your third again on the E flat and twist it around. See?
Yeah.
Okay. Now bar 61, again, put your third finger on the E flat. So if you notice, that seems to be a sort of general thing. Keep your third finger on the E flat wherever you can, and then after that, if you put your thumb on the F, and then you can go up and then play all of that section under your fingers again. Okay?
Yeah.
So left hand is fine, as long as you make sure that you start by putting your 5th finger on the E flat at bar 63. Don't be frightened about putting your little finger on a flat note.
Yeah.
It's the best way around that bit to play that. Okay? So it will take you a while to inwardly digest those fingerings and analyse them.
Yeah.
Spend a bit of time taking that section out of your piece and then put it together and you'll be fine. So the last thing I want to talk about really, before I ask you to play this again, is your dynamics. Now, because you're playing with a rock band, it's quite a lot of big brazen dynamics this. You know, this is a heavy rock band that's playing this, so don't be frightened to play your Fs quite loud, okay? So you've got a forte right at the beginning. Give it a bit of an oomph, yeah? And don't be frightened to play that quite loud there, okay? And you can see that all the piece really is forte, all the way through, really. Okay, the only section where it starts to go a little bit quieter is right at the very end at bar 77. Okay, so keep it loud, keep it strong, and keep it strident. That's the 3 words really: loud, strong, and strident.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So shall we give it one more go? As I say, don't worry too much about the fingering at this stage. You can go away and have a look at that. And it will take you a while to inwardly digest all the structure that I've talked about as well. But I hope I've given you some ideas on how to improve this.
Yeah.
Okay, if you'd like to play again now. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming, and I wish you luck with your diploma examination.